Rooney was asked in that interview, that press conference with the media a couple of days ago, whether or not he thinks our coaching staff could be bolstered up a little bit more if that's been an issue for the Steelers team over the last couple of years. And he doesn't think so. Big Ben, though, said on his podcast that in a way he's disagreeing. He says we should absolutely look at expanding the coaching staff. There's a lot of room for it. He says expand the strength and conditioning staff. Well, we got to fire whoever was the strength and conditioning coach to begin with, and then maybe you can expand the staff. He says expand the training staff, expand the equipment staff, all that stuff. But that's money, and we all know that the Rooneys aren't putting a lot of extra into that stuff. That's just, they've never done it that way, so don't expect that to change. He goes on to say, I remember sitting in a quarterback meeting room at the Pro Bowl. You had the quarterback coach, and there were two or three other coaches in there, and I'm like, they're coaches. This is unbelievable. And so I'm thinking that there's definitely room for that, but the team has to decide they want to do that. Like, you just saw the Ravens bring in a Chuck Pagano, who was a head coach back in the day with the Colts. I think most would agree, even though I don't think necessarily lived up as the Colts head coach, given that he had Andrew Luck. He's a solid coach. He's got a ton of experience, made it to being a head coach. I mean, I think it's like 30 or 35 years of total experience. Like, he's a quality guy to have on your staff, right? And he's just sitting out there retired. And the Ravens clearly don't need the extra help right now, right? They don't need extra guys on their coaching staff. They're doing just fine. If it wasn't for Mark Andrews dropping that 2-point conversion, who knows? Are they in the AFC Championship this year against the Chiefs? Lamar Jackson obviously had the best year of his career. Ravens defense doesn't really look like it's missed that much of a beat. Obviously took a step down in the pass coverage, but Derrick Henry's going off for 2,000 yards. They win the division, stole the division from us. Like, they're on the right track. They don't need this extra coaching help. They don't need any extra big names on the coaching staff. But I think it also says something. Like, you got the Ravens doing stuff like that. And then, like, last year, the Browns bring in, even though Mike Vrabel was way overqualified for taking the position that he did with the Browns last year, he did it. He was available. Browns were willing to take him in. They weren't worried about egos. They weren't worried about the big name that Mike Vrabel brings along with him or butting heads. No, they just want quality coaches on the staff, anyone that can help, anyone that could give a new perspective. What do we say? Turn over every stone to try to get this thing right. So, I mean, I think Big Ben has a point here that it's not going to hurt us. We did it with Brian Flores, right? We did it with him a couple years ago. Almost similar to the Mike Vrabel situation. He's former head coach, way overqualified for just being like an assistant defensive coach or whatever. I think Mike Vrabel's role was advisor, coaching advisor or something like that. Did it in the past with Flores, but so on one hand, I agree with Ben that why not? Because there are some coaches out there. Bobby Slowick just got fired from the Texans. Why not bring him onto the staff? Have him be like a quarterback coach, assistant offensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy, he's saying that he's going to chill, but what could be better than chilling? Going to a team like the Steelers and helping them out. It's your hometown team too. Maybe gaining a fresh perspective of being under Tomlin's staff. Like, why not bring in a Mike McCarthy, help out with the offense? Antonio Pierce, Gerard Mayo, Mike Zimmer, like a bunch of these guys are out there. Like, these are names. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing any of them because they're not going to hurt. But I also think, and why I agree with Rooney a little bit though too, I don't think that's the problem now. I really don't. Like, is Bobby Slowick or Mike McCarthy really going to make that much of a difference if we still have Tomlin here, if we still have the same approach? Like, I think that's the more important thing. We got to change our approach with the guys that we already have on the coaching staff, like an Arthur Smith, like a Terrell Austin, and all the coaches that are under. Like, we got to change what we're doing. We got to get less conservative. We got to stop doing the same exact thing and how we've been coaching, how we've been teaching things over the last several years, going even back to the last 7 or 8 years. It seems like I've been continuing to harp on just, the last 2, 3 years, 7, 8 years. But I mean, it's just it reigns true. I think the message reigns true of like it hasn't been good enough, flat out. It's been this way for a while. So what if Mike Tomlin still has a certain influence over the offense? What's Bobby Slowick really going to do? I mean, it kind of goes back to when we had a Brian Flores in here as like assistant linebackers coach. Like it's cool. Like he adds a new dynamic to the coaching staff. He's obviously overqualified for that position. A great guy to have helping coach your defense, but I think didn't we still go 9-8 that year? Like, so I don't think that's our problem. I think our problem is our approach. And unless that changes, then I don't really have much hope for Bobby Slowick or Antonio Pierce, Mike McCarthy, any of these dudes coming in and absolutely changing the way we're doing things. Mike McCarthy might be the weirdest one too, because I mean, it'd be like him working under Arthur Smith, whereas like Mike McCarthy's probably a lot more qualified to be calling the plays than Arthur Smith. Whereas Slowick, he's still a little bit on the come up. Like that dynamic might make a little bit more sense than a McCarthy, but man, I don't know. Mike Zimmer, he's a little bit older. Like, yeah, I could see him fitting as like that defensive assistant. There's even talk about him retiring. Gerard Mayo, Antonio Pierce. Yeah, like, yeah, I think they'd fit like the Brian Flores mold of, the younger head coaches. It would make sense for them to be under like a Taro Austin, right? Who's older. But man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's our biggest problem. It's something we could do, but I definitely don't think it's our biggest issue right now. I don't think it really changes much. We could look and see that the Ravens are adding a Chuck Pagano and say like, oh, we need to do that. Like, look at them. They're doing it. We need to do it. But I'm just wondering to myself, what does it really do? It wouldn't hurt, but is Bobby Slowick on offense really getting us over the hump like that? I don't know. Unless Tomlin's willing to change the approach. Maybe that's part of the approach change. Bringing in one of those guys and taking the training wheels off and just saying like, all right, you guys work as an offense. You guys figure this out together and get back to me. All right, read a few more comments, then I'll get up out of here. Both Flash Steel says, but it has to go through Tomlin. That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. Is the approach going to change? Tomlin's done things obviously a certain way. He's been a successful head coach for 18 years. That might be tough to do, given that you've been in the same spot this whole time. You have been winning games. It's proven to win you games. It's proven to get you good results, but not great results, at least not in the last decade. But I feel like he's gonna have to, just given how this season ended. This was supposed to be a breakthrough year for us, given the change at quarterback, the change at coordinator, all the money we spent on the defense, all the money we spent on this team, all the turnover. You're just thinking, all right, there's nothing holding us back. There's no excuses. And we're sitting at the middle of the season, 10-3, but then we still end up 10-7, finish at 10-8, embarrassing playoff loss. So Tomlin's got to look in the mirror and say, okay, all that stuff wasn't necessarily the issue. Now what? Maybe I got to change how I do things here. Manny Meek says, if we brought in a consultant for the offense, yeah, we could do. I mean, we could do that. I do wonder. I do definitely wonder if it shouldn't work. Actually, it shouldn't be a bad thing. You're right. Like on paper, it shouldn't be a bad thing. Bringing in Mike McCarthy, bringing in a Bobby Slowick for defense, bringing in an Antonio Pierce to be an assistant defensive coach, a linebackers coach or something to pair with Aaron Curry or a Gerard Mayo, Mike Zimmer. Like on paper, those shouldn't be issues. But we have worried in the past, right? Man, if we bring in some of these big name guys, Are they gonna ruffle some feathers with what we got going? Obviously, it was fine with Brian Flores. We didn't hear any issues with Brian Flores. It was completely fine. I don't think any egos got in the way. There was none of that. But all right, I don't think I got much more. I Like I said, we'll maybe talk those quarterbacks in the draft tomorrow, depending on it. If I'm feeling we should do that, or maybe I'll do the free agent talk. Because I think the quarterback stuff might be more prevalent given the Senior Bowl. Like Jalen Milroe, he's at the Senior Bowl. Jackson Dart, he's at the Senior Bowl. So maybe we'll talk that, and then next week we'll do the free agents. I haven't decided just yet, but stay tuned. All right, so stay chilling. Hope you guys enjoyed. Here we go, Steelers. See you tomorrow too. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Back again. All right, peace out. Everyone enjoy the rest of their Wednesday. Peace.